browser extensions. Browser extensions are going to give your browser superpowers. And if most of you are like the rest of the world, your browser is one of the most important programs that you use, using it probably more than anything else. Although if you're working on photography or video or something else, you might spend more time in another program, but you're always back and forth in your browser. So what is a browser extension and who uses them? Well, I looked this up. I used a Copilot to ask how many people use more than 2 or 3 browser extensions. And Copilot told me that only about 13% of browser users, and that's for all browsers, use more than 2 or 3 browser extensions. Like if you never went into the side menu in your browser, whichever browser you use, whether it's Edge or Chrome or Brave or Safari or Firefox, you have to go down and look for extensions and add-ons, and then you may have to search for something, but there are hundreds of them, and which one would you want? Why would you go look? So people don't usually go and look for extensions. And what this says is that 7 out of 8 people don't use browser extensions at all, probably, okay? And that's depending on demographics and things like that. But this gives you a general idea. What is an extension? Because of the existence of Chromebooks, you know that the Chrome browser can literally be an operating system. It's a whole operating environment. You could stay in your browser and never go to any other program and never look at your desktop, except maybe you probably could even just do your mail that way, unless you use some other mail program. And so a browser extension is like a program that runs inside your browser. Just the same way that a program, an app, runs in your operating system. And they're written in a way, because they are linked into the browser, that the same extension pretty much can be used on any browser, because the Edge browser and the Chrome browser use the same engine. Firefox uses its own Mozilla engine. So a browser extension is an extra program that does special things related to the browser, or gives the browser extra powers. Now, that may not have been much of a good explanation of what an extension is, but it adds features to the browser. Whichever browser you were using, basically all browsers support extensions. I'm going to talk to you. Now, I went and I started looking, because I use a lot of extensions, and I'm a weird guy who has lots of windows open, lots of tabs open on my browser. So I just took the top extensions that I use, and there are 25 of them listed here, 24 listed here of my favorite extensions. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'm going to show you what some of them do, starting with the ones that I use most commonly. Now, as I said, most browsers support extensions. They're sometimes called add-ins. Themes are another kind of extension. In other words, if you don't like the colors that your browser has for the taskbar or the whatever bars that you have open, you can change the colors of them with themes. That's not what we're going to talk about today. But even Safari on the iPhone or iPad supports extensions. And I just have this nasty face looking, because in iOS 18, the extensions are buried way down in the settings for the iPad. Now, as I go through this, I'm going to show when an extension is available with the same name. The extension has the same name, whether you're on Edge or Chrome, as well as in Firefox. Sometimes, if it's not the same name, there's an equivalent or a similar extension that's available to the one that you had that I'm telling you about. And there may be some other one that you need. And there are many, 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 many more extensions that can do the same things that I'm telling you about, or a similar function, or some other function that I'm not talking about today at all, but it may be one that you would find a superpower for you. So let's start. I'm going to start by looking at them in the order in which I use them. Now, there are some add-ons, some extensions that are always present. I don't have to invoke that extension to do a special function. And so something like one that affects the layout, or if it was a theme, the color, and tabs and filters are always in use. So in the extensions bar in Firefox, there's an extensions bar, and it shows you, just like the taskbar in Windows or the equivalent in Mac or Linux, taskbar shows the built-ins like Ghostery and TabSearch and the OneNote Clipper and other extensions are shown in here. And if you run out of space in here, you can click on this object and it gives you a list of all of the other extensions that you can click on and invoke. Now, if you're one of those people like me who has many tabs open, I can't fit all the tabs along the top. I would have to scroll left and right, and they truncate them and make them very small so you can't read what it is. And so it was a nuisance having the tabs across the top. So I use something called tree style tab, which is always active, and it lists the tabs, and I keep it on the right side because I'm right-handed. So this is always active, and it has collapsible trees. So here's a tree with a down arrow, a subtree, and here's a collapsed tree. If I click the down arrow, these tabs will get sucked up under here, and it will look like this. And so this puts these, and I can scroll up and down. So if I have 35 tabs open, I can scroll up and down and see their whole name, which I can't see when they're up at the top. This makes it much easier for me to find the tabs that I want to work on. So this is one of the ones that's always present when I'm using my browser. And I'm sure that there's also one that you can put on Edge or Chrome, but you can only put it on the left side. So I use it, but it's on the left side. So I have to I have to move my mouse all the way over to the left side to go up and down. Now, the first one that I use all the time is Ghostery. And we've talked about this in some other meetings and in the discussion forum about ad blockers. Ghostery is a powerful open source privacy extension. It's free. All of the extensions that I am talking about are free. They cost nothing to add them into your browser. So Ghostery is a tracker and ad blocker. It blocks trackers. It's available in Firefox, Chrome, Edge, which means that it's available in other browsers as well. And So it stops trackers from accessing your personal data. It blocks annoying cookies and consent pop-ups. And it has an interesting additional feature. On any website you visit, it can show a preview of the trackers that are present, including on search engine results pages, and it can tell you who is tracking me. So if you put it in there, you may discover that some place has been tracking you that you didn't know about. So if you click on Ghostery, it will pop on a page, whatever page you're on, it'll show you how many trackers were found, how many cookies were found. It can show you that it's blocking ads. It's got anti-tracking turned on, which means it's going to block any cookies that could be used to track you. Now, in this case, I don't have never consent turned on. I can get some pop-ups, like if I need it from a bank where I need a pop-up or some other place. So Ghostery is free, and I have it running all the time, and I do not get ads, and I do not get third-party cookies, and it's very easy to use. I don't have to bring this up all the time. I can do it if I need to want to look and see what's going on a particular page, but it does not cause any problems, and it's free, and it will protect you. And it's available on GitHub. It's open source, and it's been vetted by many people, so you can tell that it's clean. The next one that I use all the time is the Kee Password Manager. I use KeePass as a password manager. I advocate strongly that everyone uses a password manager. But now, most browsers now have password managers built in. That means that you would be able to let your browser keep track of your passwords. But then you can't jump between browsers as easily, because one browser keeps the passwords and doesn't show it. So if I have Firefox and Edge running, the passwords that Firefox was keeping in its password manager aren't available to Edge. So I use the KeePass password manager, and it connects to my KeePass password program and vault. It links from the browser to the vault, no matter which browser I'm using, and automatically fills in the passwords as I go to a page that I have a password for stored in my password manager. It's secure and automatically signs you in to all your favorite websites as soon as you go to that site. There are equivalent extensions if you're using Bitwarden or 1Password or other password managers. But I happen to use KeePass. So the thing is, I advocate against using the built-in password manager in your browser. I think that it's better to have another password manager. KeePass has so many additional features, and Bitwarden has so many additional features that you wouldn't have if you use the one built into your browser. So a password manager extension is the second one that I use all the time. And let's say that I log into a site like groups.io, and it doesn't know which groups.io password I want to use, because I am on our groups.io, I have 3 separate accounts. I have one that is the manager account, the owner of the whole site. I have one that's me personally, and I have another one for testing that is not a workshop leader or anything else. Well, how does the password manager know? Well, it pops up and it recognizes the page. It says, I know you want a password, but which one, who are you today? So you can search for a word in the password file, and it'll give you a list, and you pick the one that you want. So it's very convenient for being able to jump between different login IDs. We're going to come to another thing that's related to this, that's a feature of Firefox. I'm going to say a little bit more about tree style tab, because this is something which, if you have a lot of tabs open and are getting annoyed about having to scroll across the top, seeing these little truncated tabs, the tree style tab, putting this list, and you can make it as wide as you want, and you can put it on the left side or the right side, and you can change the colors and certain other features of it. So when you have many tabs open, you don't want to scroll left and right. Now, the tab is still up at the top, but tree style tab takes it and puts it down here. So, for example, this one that I circled here is the same as up here. Much easier to read what this is. And when you click here, it goes to that page. If I click here, it goes to that page, the same as if you were up here. But if I want to get one that is off to the side, I'd have to scroll down, and then I can see it here, and I can click on that. There are some additional extensions that if people have added, like there's one, select after closing current. When you X out some tab, where do you go next? Well, this extension gives you the ability to specify, I want to go to the top tab, I want to go to the parent tab, I want to go to the next tab down. So I've added that in so that I have control of where the focus goes when I close a tab. I also found one, switch to previous tab. This is very handy. It's very handy because let's say I'm on this tab down here, and I used to be on this one previously, the one at the top, but now I'm down here. Well, I may have to scroll up here and click on it, or I go and I open up the list, go down to switch to previous tab, and I jump immediately between the two. So by going here, I can jump between two tabs that are distantly separated in the list of tabs. You don't have to have tree style tab to use switch to previous tab. You could do it if you only were using the tab bar at the top. Now this one is only true for Firefox tree style tab, but there are similar extensions for Edge and Chrome that do similar things. There's a test indent line extension, so you can customize what this looks like. Anyway, I use this all the time for navigating amongst the tabs that I have open. And if you're somebody who never has more than 5 tabs open and one window, then this may not be of any value to you. But the point is that this gave my browser superpowers. Now, another feature that is only available in Firefox right now, and somebody will figure out that it's handy to have, is what's called multi-account containers. Multi-account containers help you to keep all the parts of your online life in different tabs. You can have custom labels and color-coded tabs for different activities. But with the Firefox Containers extension, you can carve out a separate box for each of your online lives. For example, what it does is it separates the website storage for one tab or website domain into one container. And a place where this shows up, we're going to talk about, you sign in to two different accounts on the same site, whether it's Facebook or your bank. Let's say you have two accounts at your bank. And right now, if you log into the bank website, you can go to one account, and unless they have been good enough to be able to have you switch between accounts, like some banks do, you can't log in to the other account. You can't see the other account without logging out of the first one and logging into the second one. So one example of this, although we asked earlier about using Facebook, and a lot of people don't use it, but let's say that you use Facebook. You can put Facebook into its own container to isolate Facebook activity from the rest of your web activity. In other words, Facebook can't see the cookies or anything else, no cross-site tracking or third-party cookies that can be seen by Facebook when they come from other pages. The way it works is you open up a container, a Facebook container, and it isolates your Facebook identity into that container so that Facebook can't track your visits to other websites with third-party cookies. When you install the extension, it closes your Facebook tab, deletes your Facebook cookies, logs you out of Facebook. The next time you log into Facebook, it loads it into a special isolated container. So they have taken the thing that in the operating system environment is something like a Docker or Kubernetes, which keeps virtual environments separated from one another. So Facebook containers, not just Facebook, but containers allow you to have separated groups of tabs that don't interact with other tabs. This is absolutely a superpower. Now, another thing that I use all the time is the OneNote Web Clipper, and this is available on all browsers. It's from Microsoft. I use the OneNote Note app. I use it for many things, and you can save anything on the web to OneNote. You clip it, you invoke the OneNote Web Clipper extension, and this pops up and gives you a choice of what you want to do. So you can save the whole web page. So we see a whole page here, or you can select just a section, a region of the page, and then it clips it out and puts it in a note, or you can select an article or a book, or just bookmark the page, and it saves it into the note pad, the note group in OneNote that you want to use. So you can either get the whole page, or you can select the region, or you can select an article. And by doing this, it throws away all of the advertising, all of the unimportant stuff that's in some part. So I use this to clip out recipes or hints or things about whatever subject is of interest to me, and save it in OneNote. And OneNote is a great app for keeping track of things. I can go to OneNote and look something up by one word that may be present in a note. So the OneNote Web Clipper has given me tremendous superpowers in being able to do things. The next one that I wanted to talk about, it's called Save Page WE. WE stands for Web Edition, and it's available in Firefox, Chrome, and Edge. Now, this one can save a complete web page, the way it's currently displayed, as a single HTML file on your computer. And then it can be opened, that web page can now be opened as a file in any browser. So it saved the web page that you wanted, and it provides a simple facility for saving the page as a single file. The saved page is a highly accurate representation, and you can save multiple pages at once by selecting multiple tabs, and they'll all get put into a set of web pages and give you a list of the web pages. So you can go back and get that. Now, I don't use that one as often as its partner, Print Edit Web Edition. This allows me to edit web pages prior to printing or saving. I can delete or hide parts of the pages and edit text. I can remove advertisements and sidebars, and I can then save it either as HTML or as a PDF. So, for example, let's consider a recipe. Now, here's a recipe, and if you look at the whole page, you see that it's got all this stuff down at the bottom, all the comments that people made, and then additional advertisements for recipes. And all I want is the one recipe up at the top. So I go back up to the top and I invoke the web clipper up there. The Print Edit WE. And then it gives me this additional menu, and I can select a part that I want to keep. So I click on this, it highlights it, and it says I want to keep that. And if I want to keep just the rating, I click on that. This paragraph I want to keep the ingredients, information about the number of servings. I don't want all these extra pictures. So I can select the parts of the web page that I want to keep. So this is going to get me the ingredients and the directions. And the recipe tips. And the nutrition facts. And some stuff that's highlighted, I go back up to the top into the menu of Print Edit Web Edition, and I say, delete everything that I did not highlight. And now all I have is the ingredients, the directions, and the tips, and then I can print it directly from there, or I could save it as a separate HTML page. I can save it as a PDF because this is going to your regular printer dialog. And that's the page that I'm going to save with all of the extraneous information removed. So I use that frequently for cleaning things up before I save them or print them. Now, sometimes the next extension that I use, sometimes you have text in a picture. Now, you know that we can all use optical character recognition But here is an extension. This one is called OCR Image Reader, and it's for Firefox. But there are equivalent ones for every browser. It's a powerful optical character recognition extension where you can capture and convert the text in images. If the text that you want is just on a web page, you can select it and copy it. Control-C, done. But if it's text that's in a picture, you can't select it. You only select the whole picture. So this extension loads a JavaScript library onto the page. And then here's an example of how it works. Here's a page where I went and I did a search for images. You know, when you go for a search, you can look and select, just show me the images. Then I picked out an image, and here's an image. And it had a nice little poem in it. Well, I can't select the text in the poem. I could type it out, but what if it was big? Well, so the way this works, I want to copy that text out as text. So I select that, and I click on, I have to go into the extensions list and select the OCR Image Reader and go back to the image and then select the text. And when I've selected it, the extension pops up and shows me that it has turned that text in the image into text. And I can copy the text. It says post the result, but I mostly just copy the text. So this is something that I can use. And I found that I had text in an image and I wanted it. And so I went and searched extensions and found this. So the OCR Image Reader is another, it gave me superpowers in my browser. It's a browser extension. I don't have to save the image to my desktop or save it to a file and then go and invoke an optical character recognition program. It's right here, built into my browser as an extension now. The next one that I use is called TabSearch. As I said, I'm one of those people, I have lots of tabs open all the time. So I need to be able to find the tab that's over 2 windows. I have 3 windows with 20 tabs each open, and I want to get from the tab that I'm on in one window back to some other tab in another window. So I use TabSearch. Keyboard accessible interface for tab management, lots of options, and I can list and restore recently closed tabs. I can list the recently closed tabs, not just the last tab closed, and I can get a visual count of the number of tabs that are open in a window. So this works, and here's how it's used. Let's say that I was on this tab, which just happens, it's just a random tab that I put there so that we could have this example. And I'm on this tab. So if I go to TabSearch, that's what the TabSearch looks like. It says there are 16 tabs open in that window. And I put in, remember that haiku that I just saved from optical character recognition? Here's the word haiku, and it found that tab that I was just on. It very quickly found it by just me giving the name, the word haiku. Now, what if I want to get back to the previous one? Oh, here's how we use switch to previous active tab, and we're back to that one that we were on before. So here's an example of using these two extensions. Switch to previous tab and tab search. Tab search will find an open tab, whether it's an open tab, a tab in your history, or a tab in your bookmarks, just by typing in the name and invoking the tab search extension. That's a very handy and powerful extension. Now, another one that I have that we have talked about several times is using an alias email address. If you have to sign up for something and you don't want to give them your real email, Firefox has built in something called Firefox Relay. It's already built into Firefox, and you don't have to add it. The extension is already a feature in Firefox. You just have to look it up. And the free version that's included in your Firefox account supports 5 aliases. There's a premium version that supports unlimited email aliases for 99 cents a month if you pay yearly. And what it will do is remove email trackers. Now, we talked about trackers in web pages, but if you get an email that has a single pixel file embedded in it, that's an email tracker. Anything that they could embed in the email that you have opened up in a web page can be removed with the Firefox Relay extension. It blocks promotional emails if you tell it to. You can get a unique relay domain so that you can use an artificial email address that you create, your domain name, your name, and it has this extension on it, so that you can reply to emails. If you get the premium version, you can reply to emails anonymously, so that this gives you a way to not have to give out your important personal email address. Firefox acts as a relay. When it gets something that's addressed to you at this domain that you've created, it forwards it to your regular email address. And you set that up, and you can start with your free version with 5 email aliases. You can reuse multiple of these to sign up if you need to sign up for something on the internet and you don't want them to have your regular email address. So Firefox Relay is a free extension. It's right there, built in. Gives you another superpower, invisibility. And we're getting down to the very end. Now, most of you probably don't do this. You probably haven't used a database very much lately, but you can have a database management system that's built into your browser. The SQLite Manager is available for Firefox, Edge, and Chrome, and you can create a SQLite database in your browser for free. Now, most people use SQLite without any kind of license or support. You don't need to buy it. It's free. You get a free SQLite database, and then you can manage, manipulate, and operate on that with SQL language in the database. You can optionally import and export records that you created with as comma-separated values. So let's say you have data in Excel and you want to put it into a database. That database you can use, instead of using Access, instead of using some other complicated fancy database, you can use the SQLite Manager to create a database in your browser and then import your data as a CSV table. And then you can operate on it, including, if you see the last bullet, you can create charts based on that data from that database. This is just an extremely powerful, it may not be of interest to most of you, it may not be, but if there's one person out there that's listening to me or hears about this from me and starts using this, we have just empowered the universe. So the SQLite Database Manager gives you the ability to create a database inside your browser. Very, very powerful and free. The next one that I have is mind-blowing. There is a free extension called UI.Vision. The UI.Vision browser and desktop automation extension, available for Firefox, Edge, and Chrome. And now I have to say, it works on Windows, Mac, and Linux, because this is not just for browser work. It's an extension that lives in your browser, but it also can do desktop automation. It can automate the sequence of tasks that you are doing on your desktop. And it uses computer vision and optical character recognition to recognize the objects on your desktop and the objects in your browser window. This is easy to do. It doesn't require any programming. It's open source. It lives in the browser, and it can do desktop automation as well as automating steps that you would take on a browser web page or between web pages. It's a universal test and automation tool that combines with modern AI-powered automation concepts. It combines three powerful tools into one: visual web automation and user interface testing, visual desktop automation, whether it's for Windows, Mac, or Linux, and it can use the Selenium IDE. If you don't know what Selenium is, you'll find out if you take a look at this. But if the idea of being able to create by drag and drop visually automation of operations in a browser window or between windows or desktop programs back and forth between your browser and the desktop, this tool is free, runs everywhere. This is, now I'm going to post this, but you can go and do a search to find on YouTube a tutorial about how UI.Vision works, how you use it. So we now have gone through all of the superpowers that I was going to try to introduce you to tonight. The number of different powers, of superpowers, of extensions, the range, the different kinds of things that you can do with them, add power to your browser. If you can, so I've given you some ideas. I'm going to stop sharing now. So that there's time for questions about these things or other possible browser extensions or the idea of having browser extensions that give you superpowers.
Well, I know I get a report from Malwarebytes that it stops the trackers that come in my email. I get that probably once a week. Just because of having Malwarebytes on as an extension.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Well, I mean, I get that once a week. I'm just saying with that extension, I get a list. Not, it just tells me how many trackers they've blocked in the email. Just another one that throws out for the blockers in email.
You may find that some of these have overlaps. Like I'm using Ghostery.
Right.
In our groups.io, there was a lot of a discussion with Fred Cagle and Drew King about using add lock and add block. And so there are many add blockers. I started using Ghostery and it's been doing the job. So I haven't gone to look at any of these other ones lately to see if there were additional things because I didn't experience a need. Now, I just talked to you about these. You may not experience any need for most of the ones that I just mentioned. And it's not easy to know, like, gee, I wish it would do this, or I'm always doing this. It's because I was repetitively doing something that I decided to look and see if there was an extension that did something like that, because other people were just as annoyed at repeating the same operations or running into the same obstacles. So the idea of, so I hear you, Donna. I don't know about Malwarebytes. Bill?
If you use Ghostery, would it take away the ads in YouTube videos as you're watching YouTube?
You know, I noticed that they included the ads and they start at the beginning, and I'm usually not paying attention. So YouTube adding the ads has not been a problem for me that I've wanted to solve. Now, Mike Rowan says he just installed the Brave browser, which is a high security browser that blocks ads. And he uses that for watching YouTube videos, and he gets no ads. The
What
browser? Brave, B-R-A-V-E. And it's free. So if you watch a lot of YouTube videos and then the ads annoy you, I would give the Brave browser a shot.
I will. Now, you showed us a bunch of these extensions, but it would be nice to see them actually at work. Can you give us a few demonstrations?
Well, I did have videos of them working. I had, that's why I put in the videos of the OneNote Web Clipper, jump to previous tab, TabSearch, OCR Reader. I put videos in the presentation.
Okay, I will review them.
All those tabs up there, does it slow down your PC? Did you notice any slowdowns or anything with all those tabs and all those things open?
I do know that they take some memory. They increase the amount of memory that Firefox uses. But as I said, like if I look right now, I have 5 windows of Firefox open. And amongst those 5 windows, if I go to one of them for a moment, and I go up to Ghostery, it says, I have about 40 tabs open in that one window. And I personally do not experience a slowdown. So I know it's using more memory. And if I experienced a big slowdown, just like anything else in life, I wouldn't keep 5 windows with 40 tabs open. But for some reason, the way I do things, like if you looked at my desk, you would see it's piled up with stuff. And I can find the thing that I need to work on. But now I use TabSearch to find the tab that I knew I had open or recently had open, and I just jump to it. So I'm not experiencing that this slows down my computer, because the tabs that are not active are not being updated. Nothing happens. They don't cost anything. They just sit in memory. So it costs some memory, but it doesn't slow down my computer.
If you do a right click on your task manager, go to task manager, and you see the processes up there, it doesn't hurt that much, huh? Because mine, I'm only using 8% of my 7% of my CPU.
Right now, with the 5 windows open, with about, I'm going to say 40 tabs open in each window, let's say 30. So 150 tabs open. Right now, my CPU is running at 24% while I'm doing a Zoom show.
Yep. No, that's not bad.
No, that's my CPU. Memory is at 53%. And if I look at Firefox, Firefox is using almost a gigabyte, not quite, but it's only using 0.2% of the CPU for all those windows. So it's like,
Yeah, because it's all in memory. That's what it does. It puts a lot of that stuff in memory. So when you click it, it doesn't have to go out and find it. It already knows where it's at.
yeah. So those things allow me to jump to the next place very quickly. It's a powerful operating environment. And it may make it so that you can be doing more things at once. You can arrange multiple windows on your Windows screen or on Linux, probably on Mac. I can't speak for Mac, but you certainly know that there are websites where you can do video and photo editing, and it's done in the cloud. Well, you'll be able to use some of these extensions in conjunction with that stuff.
So what do you do when you got your password manager and you go to your Chase account and it automatically logs you in, right? You don't have to type in any password or nothing.
Correct. It recognizes in my password, by using KeePass, I enter the URL of the login page as one of the features for that account.
Product details from Amazon. Work sharp professional precision adjust knife sharpener tool. I can add.
I'm not understanding what's being said.
I don't know who said that. I'm trying to find out about the password in your bank account. Here's the problem I have. This has been a while now. A friend, when I was still in Jersey, he left his laptop in the cab, and he didn't realize it until he got home. Actually, he didn't realize it then because he didn't unpack his bag until the next morning. His laptop he had left in the cab. He had Password Manager. He looked at his bank account; it was empty.
So
because he had automatic password on it.
The password manager of a browser you can, but do not have to log into an account associated with your browser. If you're in Edge, it's automatically logged into your Windows account on Windows and the password manager. So if you shut down, if you put your laptop to sleep and somebody opens up Edge and is able to get into your account, to open up Windows, because they just open it up and it was only asleep, it doesn't need anything. If they can get past the password to get into Windows, then they go to Edge and it automatically has access to all of the passwords that the Edge browser was saving for you if you use
right.
the built-in password manager. With using Kee Password Manager, it's an extension. It's an extension that has software that runs in the browser, but then it connects to the KeePass program that's running on the computer. And you have to have logged into the KeePass Password Manager program to be able to get anything into the browser. So it's
So
like
the first thing you do, you got to log in twice. You log into Windows, then you log into your KeePass Manager.
yeah, I have to
Yeah.
run my KeePass Manager and put in the master database password. Then I can get at the passwords in my password manager. That's the way
Yeah,
every
so-
password manager works.
Yeah. So even though you logged into Windows, and now you're going to go to your bank, and you haven't logged into Password Manager yet, if you picked on your Chase.com account, the first thing it's going to ask you is your master password.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
if somebody found my laptop, they could go to my bank's website and it would ask them to log in. But it's not connected to my password. It's not going to fill in my password automatically.
And
Because my
I know
password
they're
manager
all
is
encrypted,
not.
and it's all encrypted, I'm sure, up on the web. I just don't like having all that stuff on the web. I have so much stuff on the web, it ain't funny as it is. I like to be able to keep, I think BitLocker or Bitwarden, whatever that we had on that program, one of the meetings, that you can keep a copy on your desktop as opposed to on your own computer, on your own hard drive, as opposed on their website. And you can
Yes.
encrypt it yourself with Windows. You can
Yes.
use the BitLocker, Windows BitLocker.
Yes, Bitwarden allows you, supports you having the password vault on your own hardware, not
Right.
in the cloud.
Right.
My KeePass password database is on my computer, but it's encrypted, 256-bit encryption. So I can store a copy of it in the cloud. Nobody can do anything. It's just a pile of bits. Nobody can read it. Nobody can break into it without my
Right.
master password. So having a copy of it backed up in the cloud is not a security problem for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so I'm trying to make the point that I don't think that using the password managers that are built into browsers
Oh, no, I don't
is
like
the
those
best
either.
idea.
No, definitely not.
I do think that the one on iOS or Apple devices, that the Apple password manager, if you are an advocate, a person who uses the Apple ecosystem, I think that their passwords are very secure, but the password manager on Apple is limited. All it can do is remember a website, your login ID, and your password. With KeePass, I can keep all kinds of notes. Like for my credit card, I can keep the credit card number, the CVV, the expiration date, the telephone number to call for the account. I can keep all kinds of additional information that most of the other password managers, like the one in the browser or even Apple's password manager, don't support that. So they are deficient.
Yeah.
And
If
I
you're going to
use-
do it, you might as well put it all in there. What you really need up there is that, like you said, the telephone number. Because if something happens, you want to be able to get to that number as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And Bitwarden does that too. Bitwarden has it all too, but I haven't used either one of them. So, but I know Password Manager is the way to go.
Bitwarden sounds extremely powerful, and if you pay for it, but KeePass is free, and I have it available on all my computers and my phone. I can get to KeePass because there's Just like there's an extension for the browser, there is an app for my iPhone that syncs to the cloud-based instance and brings a copy of the database to my phone, but I still have to enter the master password.
Yeah.
So some of these things, once you work out how to use them, and I'll admit, and we could have a session to go through with anybody who wants to say, well, how do I do this if I need to do this? And then how do I do this? And how do I do this? We could go through that and try it out with any password manager that you want to use. Again, I would only spend my time. I haven't worked with Bitwarden. I think that Drew King and some of the other guys in the Linux group have worked with Bitwarden and would be more than happy to support anybody and have a session explaining how to use it. Like
That'd
I
be
said, I
nice.
like KeePass, and there's now a KeePass XC for iPhone. There's KeePass versions for Android, so that you can always have all of your passwords secure and all that other information. And I use the other information frequently. Keep social security numbers in there, keep healthcare numbers in there. They ask you, oh, I forgot my card, but I have it right here. So the browser extensions, once you start looking at these, they do give you superpowers in areas of things that you do on a day-to-day basis. And instead of having to do something that takes 3, 4, 5 steps, the extension can do it for you in fewer steps. That's where it becomes a superpower, like being able to see through the wall.
Is that KeePass free?
On the KeePass,
Yeah.
there's a KeePass. I think it's KeePass.org is the. Let me take a look at what the website is. I think it's KeePass.org.
Oh. Yes, it's supposed to be free, yes.
If I could type, it would be better. Oh, KeePass.info is the official KeePass site. See, every KeePass entry for a login and password has, in addition, a notes section where you can save it, save whatever you want.
I put in keypass.info in my Chrome browser, and I get from the keypass.info, I get KeePass info, password manager for business, password manager for organizations, and get fingerprinted. Let me see if I click on KeePass Manager. Visit website. It's taking me business password manager -lane.com. Visit website, which I'm not going to do.
Well, to use it, to get it on your phone, like if you go to, I think KeePass XC is the extension on the iPhone. If you're on an Android, it'd be something else. And the extension in that I use in Firefox is the Kee Password Manager, KEE Password Manager. So you have to go into extensions in the menu of Firefox and search for KeePass, and you'll find that there's several extensions that work in your browser to connect to the KeePass password base through the API.
Yeah, it's LastPass is LastPass.com according to to my search for Google on Chrome.
Yeah. LastPass has been good, but it was actually breached. If I were advocating,
Yeah, that's right, I remember that.
suggesting a password manager, I mean, I use KeePass, but Bitwarden and 1Password. 1Password is a paid password manager, but very secure, very flexible, and probably has a browser extension to
Yeah,
fill in your
KeePass.
password on any website that you stored.
Okay, I got, it's a KeePassXC.org.
KeePass XC, yeah. But that isn't that one just for iPhone? Or did they?
Let's see if it says for iPhone. It doesn't say just for iPhone. Let's see. Safe words, fill in your pass, forget the tracker free cloud. It doesn't say. It just, that's for the download. That's where you get the download and learn more.
So, I mean, I mentioned the ones that I use most. Hopefully it communicated somehow how it fits into my way of surfing the web, of going to different sites, and where it's helpful to me to get things done. And if you have some other needs, then you would find other passwords, other extensions that fit your needs. Now, the one about Malwarebytes, I don't know what it is. They may have an extension. They may actually advocate that one use the Brave browser or some other browser. They may have their own browser. Many of the security sites suggest here's a browser. DuckDuckGo has a browser now.
Yep.
And DuckDuckGo browser will protect you from sharing any of your information. Well, I found that Firefox is extremely powerful for me, powerful tool. Some people use Chrome, are very happy with it, but that gives Google a lot more of my information.
Yeah. Yeah, I like DuckDuckGo, but I think it was for my stock brokerage. Every time I try to go in there to download some of their PDFs, you know, it's in a pop-up, and it was blocking a pop-up. Even though I unchecked it, it still wouldn't let me get my PDF files, my monthly statements. That was TD Waterhouse then, and also it does it a few times for some of the later ones too. So you have to uncheck it if you're going to get some of those pop-ups. You know, like a bank pop-up for your statement or something like that. It blocks that pop-up.
Well, I do run Edge also, because there are some things that I just find it's not worth beating my head against a wall to try to get Firefox with all of the constrictions that I've placed on it to work. So I just go over to Edge and use that. Edge is very lightweight compared to Firefox because it uses so much Microsoft Windows built-in stuff.
Yep.
So I'm not advocating for any particular browser, but whatever browser you're using, if you go over to the hamburger, the list of features where you can do print, one of them is extensions, add-ins, and themes. And you can go in there in the extensions and search for an extension. And you can do that even if you're using Safari on an iPhone. You have to go into settings and go to find Safari and then look down in the settings for Safari. If it's not just in the Safari, let's see. Safari, no, that doesn't look like. You probably have to go into settings, and like I said, Apple didn't make it easy to find where the extensions are for Safari, but it's there. And most of these things, if they're useful on a small system like an iPad or iPhone, there'll be an extension there for it. Somebody built it, and it got vetted by Apple before they will allow it to run on their ecosystem. Is there anything that somebody would, are there any annoyances that people have that they go through every day when they're using their browser that they'd like to know if there's an extension for? Donna mentioned Malwarebytes. We can look that.
Yeah, Malwarebytes browser guard.
Well, that's something else. Malwarebytes Chrome extension.
Yeah, I think it is the browser guard for Malwarebytes that I have that tells me about the trackers once a week, gives me a little pop-up report.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's the name.
Anyway, it doesn't take up much usage, I guess. Just runs in the background.
And Malwarebytes is pretty good. People do advocate running it all the time. But this runs in your browser, so that would certainly help block ads, trackers, scams, and other stuff that Malwarebytes is good at. That sounds like a good addition.
Well, I don't know if you need two of them, John. It's just the one that I use. I mean, I don't think you need two blockers. You just probably only need one good one. So in terms of what you presented tonight, I thank you very much. A lot of it's over my head. It's not I do simple things. So I'm not involved in more complicated, you know, I go to YouTube or I see a Zoom presentation and I do email, check recipes. I mean, I don't do big involved projects. I write my letters or whatever. So I appreciate the glimpses of some of the things you do. They're just beyond what I do, I guess is what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just some little thing that you do all the time, that one extension, like not having the tabs in such small things across the top. Getting tree style tab was a major simplification in my life. Who wants to scroll across the top in tabs that you can't read what's there? You have to click on it and see the page. That's a waste of time. No matter what you're doing, if you have a lot of tabs open. I am going to post this presentation so that people can run the videos that are part of it, so that Bill Silverman would be able to watch those videos and see how these things work. I'll post that in the general meeting group where everybody heard about it. And if anybody has suggestions or questions about extensions or browsers or anything like that, post them in the discussion forum and you'll get more answers than we could even have given tonight. We did discover that there's a Malwarebytes extension. That's pretty cool. Again, all of these extensions are free. You can turn them on, you can turn them off. They're not going to cost you anything.